through the Atal Tinkering Labs. As the first mission director of the Atal Innovation Mission, which is a flagship national innovation initiative of the Prime Minister and the Government of India. It was set up under the Niti Aayog and with a singular goal of establishing and promoting a vibrant culture of innovation and entrepreneurship across the country. It was fantastic that they started looking at schools because children by default are extremely curious. And tapping into that curiosity and encouraging and molding was very important, which is where I find it amazing that when Mr. Ramanan started, he started focusing on schools across the country. Today, many of you will already know that there are more than 10,000 plus or 20,000 close to, actually, not 10,000. Atal Innovation Mission Labs, which is the Atal Tinkering Labs. And it's operational across the country. India has 732 districts. In almost every district, you will find at least one school having an Atal Tinkering Lab. It's not small, given the terrain, the varied cultures, the varied structures, and the varied infrastructure availability. Setting up this in so many schools across the country. Many of them are government schools, but it includes many private schools. In fact, Mr. Ramanan set up not just the Atal Tinkering Labs, it was the entire chain of innovation, starting from schools with Atal Tinkering Labs, setting up Atal incubation centers in universities to foster the university industry startup culture. India has known to be a nation of jugaad, but jugaad is a creative expression and innovation, solving the need of the hour, and innovation thrives in a country like India. He set up a large number of Atal New India challenges to stimulate product innovations, and also a very, very large mentorship network with more than 10,000 plus mentors to mentor the young school students as well as the startups. Mr. Ramanan is not new to us at TCS. He joined TCS almost 41 years back. And Mr. Ramanan completed his IIT Mumbai electrical engineering and has been a significant part of the TCS growth story in product development, technical marketing, global business development, general management of very large centers at TCS. He was previously also the managing director of CMC Limited, which is now a subsidiary of TCS. At CMC, he led its rapid transformation from a government organization to a global IT powerhouse. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Ramanan as part of this exercise. Today, before we start, I have a couple of announcements, but let me now call upon Mrs. Varsha Kumta, who's the school head of the Ryan International School, Malad, to invite Mr. Ramanan on behalf of the Ryan Group of Schools. Mrs. Varsha, over to you.
Good morning to all those present in this beautiful platform early morning. Give thanks to the Lord for he is good. His love endures forever. Corinthians 16:34. I, Varsha Kumta, the school head of Ryan International Malad ICAC, on behalf of the Ryan International Group, invite you all, and specifically I welcome Ramanathan sir. Wonderful to see you again, sir. I hope this event is full of engaging elations, good sportsmanship, and a great creativity. We welcome you, sir. Thank you, sir. Ramanathan, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Varsha ma'am. Before I request Ramanan sir to share his views, a few guidelines. There will be a question and answer session at the end of this. Please add your questions. We will choose the best and share it with Mr. Ramanan for his views. So you can go to the question and answer session or the chat box on the bottom and put in your questions. At the end, you will also receive a small survey for which we will take your feedback. So let me now invite Mr. Ramanan to start by responding to what the topic was. Can creativity be taught? Ramanan sir, over to you.
Thank you, Mahadevan, for this very generous introduction. And thank you, Dr. Sonal Pinto, Varsha, and the entire Ryan group of institutions for giving me one more opportunity to be able to interact with every one of you, especially the teachers who play such a very important role in modeling and fashioning the student's mind to be able to become the citizens of the future. It is always indeed a pleasure and privilege for me to talk on this particular topic of creativity, innovation, entrepreneurship, because this is the need of the hour. We all are in the business of trying to make this world a better place to live in. And the world becomes a better place to live in. The quality of life improves. The impact of our actions make a profound difference to not only our own life, but to the lives of people around us. And if we want to make a difference, very often we cannot follow the path that has already been trodden. We need to find new paths to be able to address the challenges that we face on a daily basis, the world faces as a result of its growth, and the future generation can potentially face because of what we are doing on our beautiful planet Earth. And therefore, the only way of being able to address this is to become creative, is to be able to create innovations that will have an impact and resonate across the world over. And therefore, I really am very happy and I applaud the Ryan Group of Institutions, Dr. Pinto, Mahadevan, and everybody else who have launched this particular journey of discussing on a subject that is so very important. We all think creativity is in the realm of genius. We think that normal human beings are not really designed for creativity, that there are a few people in the world who will make a difference, but not all of us can make that difference. And nothing could be more wrong than that concept. We think creativity is something that comes to you naturally. It does. In fact, that is the reason why every one of us can be creative. But we still feel that creativity cannot be taught. And that is where we make this mistake. And I would like to share a few moments with all of you on this particular subject. After all, why is it so important? It is important because we are a nation of 1.3 billion people. And more importantly, we have more than 65% of our country under 35 years old. We have more than 50% of our country under 25 years old. We have 1.4 million schools in our country. We have 10,500 engineering institutions and more than 39,000 colleges. We have 150 million students who are going to be entering into the workplace and creating the world of tomorrow. And you, my dear teachers, who are all there on this particular call, you are shaping the minds, the hearts, the enthusiasm, the energy, the will for the young students whom you are associated with to be the transformers of the world. You are training them actually to be the architects of the new world that we are all going to live in. You are helping them every moment of the time that you spend with them to become the future generation who not only solve the current generation problems, but who can solve the problems that we anticipate in the years to come. And of course, as all of you know, we have so many challenges. There are many challenges, even though we have progressed to the 21st century. And it has been a remarkable progress that the world has made. The world has made all this progress because of creativity. And as the great Newton said, we all stand, when somebody told him, "You're a genius," he said, "No, I stand on the shoulders of giants. And having stood on the shoulders of giants, I am able to see farther than what the giants were able to see. And if I was not standing on their shoulders, I would not have been able to be creative or innovative." And so, my dear teachers, creativity is actually opening the mind to the unknown, making it curious, enabling that curiosity in the child, which is a natural capability of the child right from the day it was born. The child is intensely curious. Every one of us have seen children. From the day they are born, they are looking at the world with wonder. They are curious. They are experimentative. They want to touch. They want to feel. They want to understand. They want to inquire. They want to ask and know why and what is happening around in the world of them, world around them. And therefore, we as teachers have an obligation to continue this curiosity, because it is this curiosity which leads to creativity and which leads to impact. And why do we need creativity today? Because, like I said, we have so many challenges. We have a simple virus that paralyzed countries across the world. And were we not creative and were we not having the tools that was required to address this creativity, this vaccine would not have been found. Had we not been able to connect with each other and communicate and build on what has already been built before, we would all be still suffering the effects of the pandemic. And there are many other challenges like climate change, which we have not yet experienced. A simple virus paralyzed countries across the world. It disrupted supply chains across the world. It created national lockdowns. It created, more importantly in us, a fear of uncertainty, of what the future holds for us. What about other global pandemics lurking in the horizon? What about issues like climate change, which we have not experienced the ferocity, but which, when it comes, can be even more devastating than what we have experienced? And therefore, there is an urgency to solve all these problems. But the world, and all of you know, we reacted remarkably. And it was due to the inherent creativity of human beings that we were able to address this problem. And today we are back to schools. National lockdown is a thing of the past, and we are able to move forward. But it is very important, my dear teachers, to see now how you create the future generation of tomorrow, the architects of tomorrow. And in that, all of us as teachers today, and I'm sure you would agree, we open the mind of the student to the known. We teach them subjects that we know about. We teach them physics and chemistry and biology and mathematics and so on and so forth. We deal with the realm of the known. And we constantly assess the child's progress on the realm of the known. So we give them marks for what we already know and whether you know about it better or you know about it as much. But we do not give any marks to them for pondering on the unknown, for exploring into the unknown, for being curious about the unknown. because it is only in the unknown that the solutions of the problems of today's world lie. When you explore into the unknown, you are able to become innovative. And therefore, my dear teachers, this is a subject. Just like you teach what is known, can you teach what is unknown? The question, therefore, now is, what is the unknown? You cannot teach what is already unknown. It is for the child to discover. So creativity begins with instilling in every child the curiosity that is required and igniting that curiosity at all times to make sure that the child is constantly creative. You see, when we are young, nobody teaches the child how to talk, how to walk. The child observes the world around them. It sees various things happening around. It sees lips moving. The child sees sounds coming out. Then it starts connecting the dots together and starts trying to talk. First, there is only a babbling that comes. Then comes some sound that the child is able to recognize as resonating with the sound that it has already heard. Then it starts talking. Then the child starts singing. And then you are not able to stop the child talking, like how you're not able to stop me now from talking. Similarly, when you are walking, the child doesn't know how to walk. It looks at people walking and running and says, let me also stand. The child stands and it falls. It stands again and it falls again. But every time the child stands, the child innovates. And that innovation is becoming more creative of how to stand and how to walk and how to run. And soon the child is participating in races, they're participating in national competitions, they're participating in Olympics. And as all of you know today, so many children and so many cricketers and so many sports people have come out from the entire system because of their inherent nature to innovate, their inherent nature to be creative. And so, my dear teachers, creativity can be taught. But what does teaching creativity mean? It means a few things. And I refer to 6 E's which are required for creativity. First and foremost, you have to instill, and this is teaching. You have to instill in the child to explore the world. Exploration leads because you have a child which is curious. The student is curious. The student is seeing the world around them. And they have a lot of questions. They have questions of what is exactly that phenomenon that they are seeing. What is the train that is moving? What about the plane that is flying? What about the phone that you're talking to? What is this particular device? And then they want to know how that particular device works, or why a particular device works the way it does, or why a particular problem is there, and they start exploring the world around them. And you can teach exploration. Exploration is opening your mind into the unknown to try to find out what this world is all about. And exploration leads with empathy. So this empathy is a quality that teachers should teach the children. What is empathy all about? Putting yourself in another person's shoes. The progress of the world, the progress of civilization is where people have been empathetic. Medicine developed because people were empathetic and the doctors decided, I have to solve this problem. Somebody is falling sick, somebody is dying, and I have to be a solution to this problem and not just witness it as if nothing is happening and it doesn't matter to me. So they started solving problems which they didn't personally have, but they could see the problems happening to others. So they empathize. And empathy is a value that every school has to teach to their young students. So from exploration with empathy comes discovery. And when you start discovering the world around, you start questioning. You see problems in and around the world that you're living in. And this is exactly what we started teaching to our students in our adult tinkering labs. We said, go from here, from your house to your mall. Go from your house to your school. Go from your house to the playground. Look at the world and see whether you can identify problems that the people are facing in all of this. For example, if you go to a hospital, do you see people standing in a line and they are not getting service? So if this is a problem that is there in front of you, how are you going to solve the problem? So that exploration leads to discovery, and discovery leads to identification of problems. And in order to solve a problem, you start researching. So that exploration leads to research, and you can teach how to do good research. When you have a particular problem to be solved, you say, in order to solve this problem, you have to do research on how you can solve this problem. What are the technologies you can use? What are the methodologies you can adopt? What is the feedback loop and customers or people whom you can interact with in order to know more about how to solve that problem? So that is an experiment that leads to experimentation of how to solve the problem. And how do you experiment? In order to experiment for solving the problem, you need to be empowered. And empowerment is done with the availability of tools, with the availability of technology. We are all very fortunate today that technology has made tremendous advances and that it is available to you at your doorstep. Technology has become affordable, accessible, available, and advanced. 3D printing, robotics, IoT or Internet of Things, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, nanotechnologies, supercomputing technologies, all of these have become available, affordable, accessible, and advanced. And therefore, technology is able to enable you to reimagine this entire world and reimagine solutions that are either suboptimal in today's context or that have not been developed so far. So the child's mind expands and they start seeing. And when you empower them with tools, technology, knowledge, when you empower them with the ability to do research, when you empower them with the ability to think afresh and think new things rather than focusing on things that they already know, but leveraging the things that they already know, leveraging the knowledge that you're giving them or partaking with them through physics, chemistry, maths, biology, geography, history, and so on. When you give all of this knowledge, there comes the equipment of the young student to be able to penetrate into the unknown and solve the problems that the rest of the world faces. And with this experimentation, exploration, and empowerment comes a tremendous energy into the child's mind to become a solution to the problems of the world and to be able to create new solutions. You see, creativity is of three types. One is explorational creativity. Explorational creativity has led to the discovery of the world, the stars. Einstein and Newton found the laws of gravity or the laws of relativity and so on. All of this was possible through explorational creativity. Man is trying to reach Mars and other planets. So space technology came as a result of explorational creativity. And then there is transformational creativity, creativity that transforms the lives of people. So the invention of the electricity bulb, the invention of electricity, the invention of cars or the steam engine, the invention of the computer, the first computer, the invention of electronics, all of this were transformational in nature. And these came because of advances in technology and advances in knowledge over a period of time. And then today, when you think, can I be creative? Can I, who don't have a PhD degree, can I be creative? And the answer is yes, because there is something called combinatorial creativity. Combinatorial creativity is innovation and creativity based upon a whole lot of things that are available to you and you connect them together. The great Peter Branson said, always be connecting the dots. When you're always connecting the dots, you become creative. So if you see today, innovation and creativity is using the various tools for continuous improvement. Let me give you an example. You have a classroom. Now, how you become more creative in using the classroom? Through this Zoom call that we are doing. So this Zoom call is enabling me to communicate with what I see as 276 participants today, 276 teachers in your various institutions, and I am communicating with them. How did this creativity come about? It came about because of a combination of communication technology, computer technology, and other technologies like IoT and so on and so forth, and surveillance technologies. which, when you combine together, leads to a new innovation. And that is the process of creativity. Creativity today does not mean you have to be a genius and you have to find something all by yourself. In fact, it is exactly the opposite. In today's world, it is communication, it is collaboration, it is design thinking that we talk about. It is the ability to connect the dots together, which leads to a creative individual and leads to innovation and entrepreneurship. And then, when you are able to give all these tools and empower them, comes innovation. So, innovation is an automatic byproduct of this creativity. And innovation happens when you start connecting the dots together, when you start seeing the problems that need to be solved, when you are equipped with the tools and technologies and labs that IntelliGem, for example, is trying to create. But a very important part of this is encouragement. If you don't encourage your young student to open their mind to the unknown, if you constantly assess them only by what is known, you are creating a person who is limited in their thinking. And this is why in India, the emphasis is so much on getting marks, get good marks, go to a great college, get good marks again, go to a university abroad, get good marks again, and go to and find a nice job, whether it is in TCS or IBM or Google and so on. But we have not trained our minds and young students' minds to become creators of the future. We have empowered them to become great job seekers of the future. But we have to create a nation of job creators. With 1.3 billion people and 150 million students entering into the workplace, what can we do to transform this world? And if we don't train our young students, we are the youngest nation of the world. And if you teachers don't teach creativity in the way that we talk about, and creativity is all about the attributes of that lead to creativity: experimentation, exploration, discovery, empowerment, encouragement, and so on. You have to encourage them, because in the pursuit of creativity, you're going to find many failures and you're going to have many stepping stones. But the word failure, the word fail, as the great Abdul Kalam said, is first attempt in learning. So creativity is all about the first attempt in learning. And when you fail, you actually have a new learning. And from that learning evolves the new innovation. And from that innovation evolves an impact that the world has to see. The great Steve Jobs said, we all should leave a ding in the universe. Now, what does leaving a ding in the universe mean? It means through our presence in this world, we have to create an impact that will resonate not only around you, but in the years to come. And my dear teachers, every student of yours is creative. Believe me, I have seen from these 10,000 tinkering labs, and I've traveled to many tinkering labs all across the country. I'm amazed at the amount of creativity that young students have once you allow it to be unleashed, once you allow them to be open, once you allow them to question you, the teacher, in front of everybody. Because if the question is the right question for which you don't have an answer, you are sure that that child is on its journey to be creative. And this is what we need to learn. And this is what we need to implement. And it is important to leverage not just what you have in your school, but what you're seeing in the world around you. And that's why I'm very happy that TCS has come with its IntelliGem and other offerings, that they are helping create an intelligent lab in your school. Because without that lab, your children are not going to be empowered and don't have the tools to become creative. But once you have that, the world, the sky is the limit. Any solution that you find and you create for a problem in India is a solution for the rest of the world. A solution for 1.3 billion people is a guaranteed solution for 7 billion people. And we in India have the opportunity, or wherever your schools are, whether they are in India or in other parts of the world, you have the opportunity to create the most creative students of our times. So I'm very, very happy that we are all deliberating together how creativity can be taught. And this is a subject that needs to be deliberated again and again. It is not just a one-time interaction that's going to help, but you have to get in groups. The teachers have to get in groups and say, how are we as Ryan Group of Institutions going to make the most creative students of the world? And you can. And yes, you will. And creativity requires the ABCDs that I talk about. First, the ability and the aspiration to be an impactful solution provider for the world. B is the belief that you can, and instilling in every child the belief that they can. The last ranker of your class and the first ranker of your class are equal in terms of creativity. There is no difference between them. It is just that you have to ignite that curiosity and empower with the tools and technologies and the labs that you create and with the methodologies that you adopt to become more creative. Creativity has no boundaries. It has no geographies. It has no caste, creed, none of that. Where did Abdul Kalam come from? He came from the humble town of Rameshwaram, a town known more for its fishing boats than for its schools, a town more known for its temples than for its universities. And from this town came a humble man who, while sitting on the fishing boats and distributing paper to the passing trains, to the passengers in the passing trains, he dreamt about becoming a pilot. He didn't become a pilot, but he went on to become one of the finest missile scientists or one of the finest scientists India has ever seen. He rose on to become the president of our country. And he said in his book Ignite, which I recommend everybody to read, he said, if you aim small, you will remain small. So he said, aim big and you will achieve big things. Aim small and you will be limited by your own dreams. And therefore, you need to ensure that every student, no matter what their background, no matter what their rank, they have the opportunity to express their creative talent. And the creative talent can be in studies, it can be in arts, it can be in music, it can be in sports. A young Sachin Tendulkar, how did he become creative? He became by getting the first cricket bat as a present when he was 6 years old, and he wanted to experiment with that bat. And his parents encouraged him and supported him. And he went on every day of his life from that time onwards till the day he retired. He practiced at the net with discipline for more than 6 to 8 hours. So creativity doesn't just come as a flash of ideas from to you. It requires the D. So when A, B, C, D, the ability, the belief that you can, the aim and the aspiration, the commitment to be able to become an innovator and to become more creative, and the accompanying discipline that is required, all of this go into creativity. And therefore, my dear teachers, and all of you who are on this call, I believe, I fundamentally believe that India and all your students are poised for greatness because we are unleashing the creativity in the children through all these initiatives that we are talking about. And I'm sure they will make a profound impact. Thank you so much for giving me some time to reflect on this. And I'm happy to take any questions from any one of you.
Thank you, sir. In fact, it's always a pleasure when you speak, you give a very large amount of tips and tricks on how people can think about creativity, because you talked about one main thing about the unknown, right? Uh, in fact, creativity stems from exploring the unknown. And when you talked about the 6 E's, you also touched upon the, in fact, this is something which I learned today, the exploratory method, the transformational creativity or method, and then the combinatory. In fact, I've heard this word combinatrix, but I never actually thought that this is actually a construct which can be put. Fantastic. In fact, we are very, I should be saying this very sincerely. As a group, the Ryan Group of Schools has always taken a lead in a very large set of areas, very specifically going beyond academics and ensuring that every child gets far more holistic skilling. And today, more than almost 300 odd people are there, and a significant number of them are the principals and the heads of the schools. It shows that they want to take the lead in really enabling creativity in schools. So I have a few questions while we wait for all of you to put in your questions on the Q&A. I have a few questions. You talked about this book on Ignite, yeah, by Dr. Abdul Kalam, a fantastic book. You talked about creativity is a discipline. You talked about, let us, meaning how creativity is important right from early age and etc., and how it is becoming important. But I keep hearing this word, jugad, in many places. In polished language, they call it inventive thinking.
Right.
And are there strategies, are there methods which teachers can typically use in classrooms to really stimulate creativity in a very structured way? Because creativity is almost always unstructured. But when we actually look at creativity from a long-term perspective, it's lot of discipline, right? It is, there is a way in the chaos. So what are some of your thoughts on how teachers, how school leaders can encourage and stimulate creativity in classrooms?
Yeah, thanks, Maha. And that's a very, very important question. In fact, this is one thing when we launched the Atal Tinkering Labs, I can give the experience that we had in all of this. When we launched the Atal Tinkering Labs, and those of you who are not familiar with it, the setting up of an Atal Tinkering Lab in a school was really empowering them with affordable and accessible technologies related to 3D printing, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, or AR, VR. And these are now available at a paltry cost. It's just about 6 or 7 lakhs one-time investment, and you're able to have all of this equipment in your computer lab or in your own innovation lab if you want to have a separate innovation lab. But the question was, how do you stimulate creativity and how do you ensure that young students know how to use this? You don't want to just put some device and say, learn about the device. That is not so important. The ability to be able to use it for solving problems that have not been solved, or maybe they have been solved but coming out with a new idea, right? So that is something that needed to be triggered. So what we had said was, it's very important to have children induct them into problem solving, right? And what does inducting into problem solving means? First, into problem identification. Can you identify a problem that has not been solved, or which according to you has not been solved? Maybe it has been solved elsewhere, but according to the child who has had a limited exposure to the world around, is there a problem that you see that has not been solved? And so what we encourage was, like I said, we encourage the students to just, for example, look at their classroom and say, can you identify 5 problems with this classroom? Or can you identify 4 problems on your way to the school that you encounter on a daily basis, and which has not been, which according to you should be solved? For example, the student may say, I am not having, there is too much crowd at the entrance of the school. And by the time I don't have a place to park my car, or the bus, a bus stop is very far off. So it could be any problem that the child is facing. And then we said, when you are identifying a problem, have a group of students, make a small group of 3 or 4 students who will identify the problem, and then let them come and submit all the problems that they have seen, all the problem statements. And out of those problems, encourage them by recognizing the importance of a problem, right? Because the child should feel, the student should feel, wow, I identified a problem which was worthy of attention. So that encouragement factor is important. And then ask the students how you will solve this problem. What is the way you'll solve the problem? Now, this whole process that I talked about, and then you start introducing the technologies that have been used today to solve the problem. For example, you will say that students are now familiar. When you go to a mall, you go through a gateway where you are being examined for carrying any stuff that should not be carried into the mall. So they're all aware of these machines and so on. So now when you say IoT technology is there, you should say this is what is implemented here. So can you use IoT for any other purpose? In many schools, for example, safeguarding the schools, and or for example, some alert system and so on. And the children will start finding solutions. So this whole process of creativity or encouraging creativity starts with problem solving, problem identification, lead them on to problem solving, give them the tools and technology, and tell them how the tools and technology are helping to solve the problems in other situations, so that this combinatorial thing that I talked about. So as a result of all of this, what happened was we run something, and then we run challenges. So the school should run challenges on a regular basis. They call innovation challenges or creative challenges, where they'll give a particular challenge and tell the students, come back with a solution. And then you can use this technology and the labs to actually create a prototype of an innovation. So these are all systematic mechanisms of stimulating curiosity, problem identification, problem solving, and familiarity with the technology that can be used to solve the problem. And then that leads to innovation, and that leads to further innovations, and a spirit of I can do it, the tremendous confidence that a child gets. In fact, what we found was in many schools, when we launched tinkering challenges every month and tinkering marathon every year, we found that the best innovations did not necessarily come from the metro cities or from the best schools. It came from rural schools. And we wondered why. And the reason was that the problem identification capability in the rural schools were much better because they were actually living that problem, right? And so you can solve that problem using that. So it stimulates the creativity, then it stimulates the urge for innovation, and then it stimulates the creation of the solution for that.
Thank you, sir. In fact, you started by very specifically or ended by very specifically talking about understanding the problem statement, right? So recognizing the problem, that there is a problem to solve, is actually the starting point of creativity, right? In fact, I should specifically mention this to all the principals, heads of schools present here. At TCS iON, some of your students already participated in this, but as part of IntelliGem, we have also enabled one additional capability this year, where children come and actually identify or share their stories as what the thing they want to see in the world, the change they want to see in the world, right? So it could be them solving it or them recognizing that this is a problem to be solved. I'll just take 30 seconds explaining this. There was a child who just took 2 pictures. Many of you would have received these kinds of pictures, maybe in WhatsApp or anything, but the child decided to do something about it. The child was going to school every day, standing next to the bus stop, seeing that the tree under which she stood was completely dry, bone dry. Just the trunk and the branches were there, not a single leaf. When she looked at the ground, she found that the complete root system is covered with concrete and tiles and etc. So there's no way for water to go inside. So the tree was actually dying of thirst. And then she took another picture. Many of you would have seen it in WhatsApp, of one tree in a very large deserted place with large amount of canopy, and the hundreds of cattle or maybe cycles are parked under it, right? Many of you must have seen it. So she just took both of these, and then she put a small emotion on the tree trunk saying, I'm dying of thirst. If you give me water, I will also give you the same shade. Just imagine what Mr. Ramanan talked about, the empathy, right? The need, identifying that this is a problem. And this is a grade 6 child. And she put it out, and you will not believe, the city collector acted upon it in minutes, I would say, okay, in hours, and then replaced all the tiles and opened it and ensured that the tree is saved. The reason I'm bringing this is there should be avenues which we enable children to experiment, explore, share their stories, share their imaginative solutions, and etc. So that's something which we will also introduce as part of IntelliGem this year. But I have the second question, because you brought about recognizing the problem and how it can be enabled in a classroom strategies. But if you typically look at parents, you referred it in the very start, sir, that schools or even many parents, and given the competitiveness, many children go after marks, right? In the end, that is the most, what should I say, tangible data which people use to differentiate between multiple set of students when they join college, when they join jobs, when they join various different courses. Now, is there a clear differentiation which a child who's going after marks versus a child who's actually skilling himself or herself in creative strategies? Do you see a difference? Is there any record of how this pans out in their life?
Yeah, so it's a very good question here, and Mahadi, and I see that question also in front of me. I think this is a very important point to be addressed. As I said, we have always believed the teacher's role is to expose and open up the mind to the known, right? And that's what teaching is all about. You teach all the subjects that you already know, and we feel that somewhere it is not so important to enable the child to think about the unknown. So this aspect is not being given importance to in our current educational system, and it's an inherited educational system which probably we have inherited over the years. The British system was there, and all of that stuff, and it trained us to be good job seekers. You get to know a subject, so you become proficient in that subject and you get a good job. But today's world is very different from the world that we all have come from. Okay. And even companies and corporates are recognizing it. If you look at many corporates, forget about schools. If you look at corporates, they are struggling to be innovative. And they are finding a whole lot of their employees who know a subject, but beyond that, they are not able to be innovative. So they're not creating new products, new services, and then the companies go down. I mean, you had companies like, well, Digital Equipment Corporation, which was DEC, is no longer existing. Companies like IBM went down, even though they were the number one player in the market. When they introduced computers, they fell down because they did not encourage their employees to become creative and to look at new trends that are happening in the world, right? And the new trends are: small is beautiful. Innovation is no longer something that you do one big innovation. Innovation is continuous series of steps that you are introducing to become more innovative, and that is the need of the day today. That's the need of the hour. And today we have technology and we have aids to enable continuous innovation, or what they say, continuous improvement. So creativity has to be taught in our students so that they learn that if they want to be effective in the market outside. I mean, today what has happened? Twitter, just now I saw the news, 90% of India's Twitter staff have been sacked. Of course, a new boss comes, he decides that this is how my company should behave, and these employees are no longer required. Then what does the employee do? Unless they are creative and unless they are innovative, they will not be able to find a new job, right? So even if you are talking of finding new jobs and getting new jobs, it is not enough for you to know a subject, but to actually be creative, because you are adding value. It's not that this 90% don't have the knowledge of computers or technology. They have. But can they be creative? Then no company will want to lose them, right? So even if you want a job of the future, you need to be innovative. So what we need is the students have to be encouraged by the teachers. That should be one period where you're just teaching creativity, right? You are allowing the mind to explore. You are not teaching anything for that matter. You are just encouraging the students to voice their thoughts, their ideas, their problems, and just listen to them and then encourage them. So that is what we have done in the tinkering labs. What we have said is have at least one period for every class in a week, or maybe two periods in a week, where they just go to the innovation lab, don't have any marks associated with it, because this mark business has created, various ways of getting guides and tutorials and all of that stuff and so on. India has so many IIT students, but are they innovative in India? No. Why do they become great innovators when they go to US or some other place? Because they encourage innovation, they encourage original thinking, they encourage you to question about status quo. So this whole questioning about status quo and allowing the young student to express his thoughts becomes important. And how does the parent now get convinced? So we said that every year you should throw innovation challenges, and you should invite the parents to see the creation of their own child. When they see that and say, wow, this my child has been able to create this innovation, that opens up their eyes, and then they will start encouraging the child. And the teacher and the principal and the management has to play a role, that you find a certain aptitude. There is an aptitude that the child has, and that aptitude needs to be cultivated so that they can become a great creative person of the future. And that creative can be, like I said, in sports or in writing or in poetry or in drawing or in whatever. The ability for giving the students the chance to discover their own self, discover their aptitude, discover their creative impulses is very important for the teacher, and they should consider them. And like I said, when you allow that to be unleashed and you give them the tools and you encourage their failures also, they say dare to try, dare to fail. You should dare to fail, you should dare to dream, dream to dare. These are things which the teacher has to inculcate in the student, and that comes not by emphasizing on marks and saying, you're a duffer and all of that stuff, but to look at what the child is able to express, because every one of us is unique and every one of us has that creative streak in them. We have to just allow it to give expression.
Thank you, sir. You referred in between on allowing children to ask the questions. In fact, one of the largest challenges we face as a corporate, let us say TCS, and many corporates I'm seeing, is there are so many problems to solve on a day-to-day basis. But the most important thing we find is the ability to ask the right question. But asking the right question doesn't come naturally. It has to be learned, it has to be encouraged. So enabling or allowing children to come up with questions, asking from early age, gives them a head start in terms of even understanding what to ask, right? What is that problem statement? And that's the starting point. So one is to enable a child to express is by first allowing them to question. But then that brings its own challenges, because in a class of, let us say, 40 students, 50 students, one strategy you mentioned about having a period of just discussing, having a creativity period. But I have the same question as actually Ms. Sangeeta from Ryan School, Nerul. My question was around the challenges which teachers face, and she's actually even explained it or sort of specified it. What will be the best method to teach secondary students, which makes for innovative teaching, but without creating chaos and encouraging participation? So what are your thoughts? In fact, she's very specifically mentioned without creating chaos.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very good question, Ms. Sangeeta. You have asked the right question, and it's not an easy answer, but the fundamental answer is, do you engage the student, okay, in your teaching? Because if you don't engage, then there is no exchange and there is no ideas that will come out. So when you teach a particular subject, for example, today teaching should not be just the theory of the subject, but actually how that particular theory has been applied to create innovations of the future. So you need to change a little in the way you can ask this question to the young student. You'll be surprised that you will get a lot of answers from the students. You'll say, hey, you're teaching, for example, law of gravity, and then you want to ask people, why do you think, what must have been going in Newton's head, why is the apple not going up and why is the apple coming down? teach them to think like Newton, how Newton thought about that subject and then said, oh, there must be something which is pulling down. There is something called gravitational force. There is a certain law and all of that stuff. And then you have to engage the student and you have to guide the student in addressing whatever you are teaching. So whenever you teach a particular subject, teach also the innovations that have led it to the point and the creative thinking that has led to the point that they are learning the subject. When you do that, the child, and you engage the student in asking, what would you have done? What answer would you have thought? Right? So the child has started now thinking. They are not just receiving some input that this is the law of gravity and all that stuff. They have started thinking like how Newton is thinking, as why did it not go up? Why did it come down? So this is true for any subject, any subject that you teach. So in order to prevent chaos, you have to be able to engage and give every student the ability to ask, to answer or to share their thoughts and so on. I mean, not every student doesn't have to answer every question, but you go around and make sure that everybody is asking that question. The second thing is, nowadays it is very common, create a workshop, a workshop of 4 or 5 students together, and then say, give a problem to them and say, we are going to select the best solution and we are going to discuss the solution and give some encouragement and, share the top 3 solutions were this. And then you can then say, these are the top 3 solutions. And you can ask all the students, how will you improve upon this solution that was given, right? So so the top 3 rankers came, I mean, the top 3 solution providers were there, but you can still engage the rest whose solution was not found, that how would you improvise on this particular solution? So people will start engaging. So this engagement is very important. Then, of course, related knowledge about subjects. And I also think inspiration is very important. We talk about Einstein, Newton, and we don't talk about Newton himself. Give some inspiration of how he became a great creative person and innovator. So when you give that thought, then the student will think, oh, I should also become like Newton. I should also become like Abdul Kalam. I should also become like Steve Jobs. So that inspirational part is a very important fuel for creativity.
I think that's the main message of the day. I think it should be giving them the inspiration to latch on, because children are by default curious. And how do you really inspire and give them the space, right, and time? In fact, one strategy, because Ms. Angita has asked on this, how do we encourage participation? One strategy which I saw in one of the schools in Pune, I might have shared with some of you in the past, is what the school did. They asked the students to bring out ice cream sticks, and all the children were asked to write their own, paint in whatever format, decorate that ice cream stick with their name. And all the children, someone drew it, someone pasted something, someone put a flower on it, someone just wrote a name, someone painted the entire stick, and etc. And then the teacher collected everything and then kept it in a box in front of her. And then in every session, whether it is a math session, science session, English session, in fact, it could even be now creativity session, what she will do is when there is a question which she wants to throw up, or a challenge which she wants to throw up, she doesn't just throw up to everyone, right? She also takes up, let me ask, okay, let me ask Mahadevan, okay, can you say? Then what happens is, first everyone is attentive, because you never know whose winning stick she's going to pick, right? Children understand it is random, and hence they don't know that it is unbiased, right? And third, it also ensures that ideas from everyone is there, not only from, let us say, the top performing students or talkative students, or let us say the last benchers, which teachers typically want to pick sometimes. So I saw that. In fact, there is another question as we were just finishing it, from Mansi Dwivedi, right? See, children have become very lazy post-pandemic, and this is a challenge which most parents, most schools are actually struggling to manage. How do you really make them energetic, right? One is creative and innovative, but also energetic. given what has happened, because they are used to sitting in a couch and on the mobile and I don't know, devices and whatever. So are there any ideas from you, sir? Maybe there's the last question.
I think it's an important question because people have got used to a certain way of learning during the pandemic. But if you look at a child and if you look at a student, um, in today mobile technologies, and there are too many distractions that the child has because of technology. So on one hand, technology has helped us to really become connected, and so many advancements and positive advancements are there. And on the other hand, technology has also in a way restricted the expansion of the child's horizon by making it a little addictive. And so the addictive part of it has to be taken away. I think children, if you give them an opportunity to interact and you don't make the classroom a boring classroom, okay? So a classroom is not just a place where we don't encourage engagement. Very often the teacher wants to complete a particular subject on time, right? And then they would just probably rush through the subject, and therefore the process of engagement becomes minimal. And I really think if you make the process of engagement and make sure that every student has a chance to interact, to represent their views, and never belittle the child at any point, because then they will clam up, they will not answer, they'll keep quiet. They would prefer that even if I know something, I don't want to answer because maybe it is a wrong answer. So building that encouragement in the child, that feel free to ask any question, however trifling that question is, or however you think stupid that question is, because to the child's mind or to the student's mind, that is a question, and that's a question that has not been answered, and you have to be able to accept that question for what it is to that particular student, and be able to encourage an answer, and even in that, encourage some other student to give an answer. So this whole process of engagement makes the student creative, innovative, and energetic, and that's what we want to do. Innovation is all about building on ideas, building on existing ideas. So never make, if for example you're teaching any subject, thermodynamics or whatever, as you grow up, just ask them what is the application. Make them curious about what this application is about. Why am I learning about this thermodynamics? What is the reason I'm learning? So when you give them a reason to learn by looking at applications or questioning them on how would you apply this and how do you apply that, maybe the teaching process will get a bit more extended, but it will become more solid, and the student will remember it. So you have now visual aids, you have TV, you can make your classroom a smart classroom, have an intelligent lab. These all will rouse the curiosity and will make the child extremely knowledgeable about various things. So you can have a small simulation game is another way that today there are three parts to a child, right? As they grow up, they come to the 12th standard and then they say, oh, what should I do? Oh, my father became a doctor, so I'll also become a doctor. Or the father is saying, I'm a doctor, so you also become a doctor. So this whole career discovery, career aptitude, and career gap filling is not being practiced in schools. From the childhood onwards, from the day the student gets enrolled, through simulation games which are available now, through games, and they can be Lego bricks or they can be other games that you introduce, financial, you can find the aptitude of the child, the aptitude towards engineering. Some children like to make and do things, and fit things, and so they have a mechanical engineering aptitude. Some of them have a construction aptitude. Some of them have a purely programming aptitude. Some of them have artistry aptitude. So discovering this aptitude and providing an avenue for learning more and filling the gaps that the student is naturally talented at is the role of the teacher. The teacher is purely expanding on the consciousness of the child and is ensuring that the child finds that particular area which it has a natural aptitude for, and you're encouraging the blossoming of the child in that. That's what creative it is all about. Then the child becomes very innovative and energetic, because they love what they do. When we love what we do, then you find all the energy in the world. Otherwise, you'll find the child getting bored, they're getting upset, they're getting angry, they're getting cranky. All of these things will happen.
Thank you, sir. I think this last message where it is all about encouraging, never belittle, right? So in summary, what you talked about was, while creativity can be taught, the most important thing which a teacher can play a role is in really facilitating an environment where it can thrive, right? I think that's the first step. And thank you for your wonderful idea, sir. I'm very sure you must be considering already writing a book or something. I don't know. I believe that you should be writing, because there are so many ways which we can really energize the children and the schools in the country. And none other than you, who has created such a large platform infrastructure in terms of enabling creativity in schools. So thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts, sharing your ideas, and answering the questions. It will be fantastic to see you again, get you to talk to everyone. In fact, a large number of principals, school heads of the Ryan Group participated today. Before we go to I have one small announcement. Can I just call Mrs. Anjali Bowen, principal of the Ryan International School, Kandivali, to thank you on behalf of Ryan Group of Schools. Anjali, ma'am, we'll unmute you. Unfortunately, because it was in the last minute, we couldn't get your video also. Deepa, can you unmute Anjali, ma'am?
A very good afternoon or good morning to all the viewers. And on behalf of Ryan International School, myself, Mrs. Anjali Bowen, take the opportunity to give thanks wholeheartedly to the TCS iON from bringing such a wonderful platform, to thanks our guest speaker of the day, Mr. Ramanathan, who with his inspiring thoughts and views has really energized each one of us as teachers and as principals. We are really regenerated and revitalized with your so many wonderful takeaway strategies and problem solving where you have shared. And I'm really taking back with the very beautiful sentence which you said: inspiration is a fuel of creativity. And the creativity and innovation, which is the topic of today, definitely makes a shift in thinking, which adds in the development of students' creativity and problem solving ability. And you have given enough lots and lots of ways and methods to our teachers and to us, and inspired us by your motivational thought and sharing your valuable experiences with us. On behalf of Ryan International's group of schools, I again take the privilege of thanking you wholeheartedly. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anjali, and thank you, Maha, for giving me this opportunity for interaction. And I love the questions. Every question of it is a question to be answered. And more than happy to be a part of this journey of Ryan Group of institutions along with you and with TCS. And just one point that I wanted to make was the fact that, one of the largest IT consulting and services company across Asia, which is TCS, is coming to address this problem at a school level, is what we need today. So the stakeholders coming together, industry and academia coming together to create the generation of the future, the next gen. This is so important, and I wish you all the very best in this collaboration and in this endeavor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your guidance and inspiration and motivation. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I have one small announcement. Shalini, can you just bring up that side, or Deepa? At TCS, like Ramanan sir mentioned, we want to see how we can continuously encourage skilling children for the future, getting them ready to be confident citizens in the future. So IntelliGem is a contest which focuses on skilling children or creating an awareness on the various skills necessary for the future. One of the skills is on creativity and innovation, communication skills, global citizenship, financial literacy, and values, universal values are the others. The last day for registration is just 3 days away. This is the QR code. If your school students have not yet registered or participated, can you please encourage them? You must have received the posters hard couriered to them. So you could put it up on the school notice boards. Send them a reminder, 3 more days to go. Ryan Group of Schools has always taken a lead, and this is a gentle request from all of us. So thank you. Thank you for spending a very large part of the working morning hours with us. That shows the importance and focus all of you are giving it for inculcating and energizing the children with creative thoughts. So thank you again. Thank you, Ramanan sir. Thank you, Sonal ma'am, for helping organize this from the Ryan side. And thank you, our team at TCS. So wishing you all a very good day, and hope to see all your school students participate in IntelliGem. Thank you, and wishing you a very good day. Thank you. Bye.